For a young boy growing up in a court, obsessed with appearance and dignity, this was a nightmare. In classical ideals, refinement meant moderation, even in a man's anatomy. The future king, however, carried a deformity so impossible to hide that it became a source of cruel jokes among servants and scandalous letters sent abroad. Humiliation shaped him. Suspicion hardened him. And slowly, a tyrant was born. His childhood was already shattered by dysfunction. His father avoided governing, preferring hunting and leisure. His mother openly flaunted an affair with Manuel de Godoy, the true power behind the throne. Ferdinand watched humiliation unfold day after day, learning that trust was a weakness and betrayal was inevitable. But nothing wounded him like the whispers about his body. Servants giggled behind doors. Courtiers made sly remarks. Foreign diplomats reported the Spanish deformity back to their kings. Ferdinand grew up certain that everyone mocked him, and often he was right by adolescence. His personality had twisted into something dark. His tutors noted sudden cruelty, vindictiveness, and an obsession with secrecy. A single mistake could cost a servant his livelihood or his freedom. In one incident, recorded by a palace chaplain, a young page accidentally saw Ferdinand while he was changing. The boy was flogged and his entire family expelled from Madrid. No one would witness the prince's shame without punishment. As Ferdinand grew older, royal physicians realized the full scale of the situation. Dr. Francisco Flores documented the condition in secret notes never meant to be seen. The organ measures nearly 10 inches when flaccid, distorts further when stimulated, and displays curious growths and curvature that defy natural function. Producing an heir, the most basic duty of a king, became a nearly impossible challenge. Craftsmen were ordered, in absolute secrecy, to design marital devices and cushions to ensure Ferdinand could safely consummate his marriages without injuring his wives. Meanwhile, Ferdinand himself fell into a spiral of obsession. He tried bizarre potions, herbal concoctions, whispered cures promising to shrink, reshape, or somehow normalize the deformity that had ruled his life. But none of it worked, and the damage, psychological and physical, only deepened in secret corners of the palace. Physicians from across Europe were quietly smuggled into Madrid. Each one claimed to possess some miraculous cure for the heir's increasingly troubling condition. Ferdinand tried everything they offered: rhinoceros horn ground into powder, crushed pearls dissolved into wine, rare mountain herbs steeped overnight teach, tonic more expensive than the last. Some treatments promised to reshape what nature had twisted, others promised to strengthen what had become a source of humiliation and pain. None of them worked. But Ferdinand's insecurity made him easy prey, a royal treasure chest for quacks, who whispered hope into his ear. What did it truly mean to be a delicatist in ancient Rome? Behind this soft, almost elegant word was a harsh reality. The term referred to a young male slave, usually chosen for his beauty, politeness, and delicate features, someone the elite could display as a symbol of refinement and wealth. To the masses wandering the Forum, or to the aristocrats on Palatine Hill, these boys were not people in any meaningful sense. They were status objects, purchased and owned like fine marble or trained hunting dogs. Slave markets operated openly across the city, especially in places like the Foromiorum near the Tiber River. Their children and adults stood on raised platforms with wooden placards hanging from their necks. The signs listed everything about them: where they came from, what they could do, and even the condition of their bodies. Many of the most sought-after boys came from Greek, Thracian, Syrian, or Phrygian families. Their elegance, their education, and even their facial features affected their price. Some were captured during Rome's endless wars. Others were sold by families so poor they believed that giving up a child might save the rest of them from starvation. The Roman satirist Juvenal mocked this cruelty in the 1st century CE when he wrote, "A curly-haired boy costs more than a farm." It was more than a joke. It was a blunt reminder that Rome, an empire that preached discipline and virtue, also allowed children to be priced like luxury goods, different from grain, oxen, or wine. Once sold, a delicatus entered a world defined by obedience and constant supervision. Elite households trained these boys with strict discipline. Their daily life revolved around grooming, rehearsing manners, serving guests, or simply maintaining the appearance expected of them. In the richest homes where generals schemed, writers composed new verses, and senators whispered over politics. These boys lived in beautiful surroundings, yet remained caged in a life of restrictions. Rome didn't hide this system. It embraced it. Buying, selling, and training enslaved boys for household display was considered just another part of luxury culture. And for the most desirable among them, the story often grew even darker. In the imperial household, ownership wasn't enough. Control had to be total. To Rome's ruling class, power wasn't expressed only through armies or laws, it extended into the private lives and bodies of the enslaved. This became most evident in the imperial palace, where eunuchs, young boys, who had been forcibly castrated, served emperors and noble families. They were called spadones, and their altered bodies represented dominance, hierarchy, and absolute submission. Although Roman writers often mocked eunuchs as symbols of Eastern decadence, the elite still valued and employed them. Many came from Parthia and regions of Asia Minor, reflecting Rome's uneasy fascination with foreign customs. Castration was technically illegal under the Lex Cornelia. Yet the law was rarely enforced when wealthy households were involved. Medical texts of the time remained vague, but later sources describe crude, painful, and dangerous procedures, often carried out in secret, far from public eyes. These boys, many taken from Cappadocia, Galatia, and Syria, became trophies of Rome's expanding influence. Their existence reflected a contradiction. A proud empire that claimed to uphold virtue, yet quietly relied on practices it publicly condemned. Lucia Junia Balba is only 18 years old, yet right now she feels centuries older. She stands in the center of her family's villa, holding a single piece of papyrus that has shattered her entire future in the span of a few heartbeats. The message is short, formal, written with the cold, expressionless tone that only imperial officials have mastered. But everyone in the room understands the real meaning hidden beneath its polite phrases about honor, attendance, and the emperor's pleasure. Lucia has been summoned to a private gathering at the imperial residence. Her presence is required in 3 days. Appropriate attire is expected. Nowhere in the letter is refusal mentioned, because refusal does not exist. It is not an invitation, it is a command, and everyone in the villa knows exactly what that means. Her father, Senator Marcus Junius Balbus, a man who has survived 30 years of Roman politics, 5 emperors, 2 wars, and countless betrayals, stands across the room, staring at her with an expression she has never seen before. Her a moment to recognize it. Fear. Her father, the man she believed feared nothing on this earth, is terrified. For months, the revolutionaries searched for proof that could condemn Louis XVI beyond doubt. On November 20th, 1792, Francois Gamine, a quiet locksmith, walked into the revolutionary offices with the secret that would seal the king's fate. The cruel irony was that Gamine had once taught Louis how to build locks. While other kings obsessed over hunting or mistresses, Louis had a singular, almost childlike passion: tools. He had transformed a top-floor room in Versailles into a workshop, complete with anvils, forges, and clock-making instruments. Spending hours there with soot-blackened hands, much to Marie Antoinette's frustration, in May 1792, Louis and Gamine had secretly constructed a hidden chamber behind an iron door in the Tuileries, where an iron chest, the armoire de fer, was concealed. Inside were letters that proved treason, pleas to his exiled brothers, requests for foreign armies, secret communications about smuggling money, and correspondence with Mirabeau, the revolutionary hero, revealing that he had been secretly advising the king. The discovery destroyed Mirabeau's reputation and left Louis exposed as a king seeking foreign aid. On December 11th, Louis faced the National Convention, accused of preparing armies, fleeing France, ordering massacres, and committing treason. He remained composed, only breaking into tears when accused of shedding French blood. His lawyers reminded him he was legally inviolable, yet he refused to hide behind the law, choosing honesty over survival. On January 15, 1793, the verdict arrived. 693 deputies found him guilty, and 361 voted for his execution, just one more than necessary. Louis had already prepared, writing his will on Christmas Day, leaving his soul to God, declaring innocence, forgiving his enemies, and praying for France. That evening, he was reunited with his family for the final time. comforting them even as he prepared for the inevitable. At dawn, he attended Mass, received communion, and silently prayed during the carriage ride to the Place de la Révolution. Calm and dignified, he stepped onto the scaffold, forgave his enemies aloud, and offered his final prayers only for the drums to drown out his words. At 10:22 a.m., the blade fell, ending the life of the king and the centuries-old monarchy. He embodied